A goal shouldn't be how can we try to find ways of recovering from burnout? Really need to shift that goal and to start finding out how can I build a life that I don't have to escape. So, welcome back. And I appreciate you taking this time with me today because we're sitting with something that is so prevalent in our culture where I'm all constantly hearing people say things like, I feel like I'm burning out. I feel like I'm crashing out. I feel like I don't have what it takes, or I'm running on empty. I'm spinning plates. I'm burning in at both ends. I'm hearing people say this stuff over and over and over again. And it, it gets to the point where I'm hearing them say, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? How can I find ways of being able to move forward? And it's the same questions I had to ask myself. So I'm not speaking from this place of like, I've got it all together, I'm perfect, I have all the answers. 100%. I don't have all the answers. But what I can say is this is I recently read a book, and this book was talking about something that I thought was so interesting. I'm sure lots of you have heard the comment that says, there's no dumb question. And while I would agree with that, I would agree that there's not a dumb question. Like, questions are valid, questions are important. As long as they're coming from an authentic place, I believe all the questions should definitely come, right? But the piece that this book I was reading was talking about, it said, if you ask the wrong question, you're going to end up in the wrong space. And just for example, just off the top here, one of my kids, she didn't do the best on a final for in high school that she really was studying for, really was working hard, just did not make the grade that she wanted. And so she asked me, she said, well, was that not the grade that you were expecting? And I was like, ooh, I don't know any way, like literally could not talk just then. I don't know any way that I could have answered that question in a way that would have been helpful, productive, fruitful, constructive for my child in any way possible. And so, so at first I created some space. I was like, "Well, baby, I'm getting ready for work. I don't have time to answer this question right now. Ask me later." So I'm driving to work, trying to like get my thoughts together, trying to woosah, get focused on what I'm getting ready to do. And she calls me. And I'm thinking she's asking about what she's gonna have for lunch or what to cook for dinner. And so she asked the question again. So I was like, oh. And she said, well, you told me to call you with my question. I was like, I don't remember saying that. I mean, because I was hoping that I would be in a spot where I would have a better answer. And so all of a sudden, this piece that came in this book came back up to me. And so I said, baby, I said, well, I really don't necessarily think it's about, I don't think there's any way I can answer your question in a way that's going to be constructive. I said just that. And I said, sometimes the the questions we ask can take us to places that aren't necessarily constructive. And so what I think you're asking, and I just want to clarify, what I think you're asking is, are we disappointed in you? Is that the question you're asking? And she's like, yeah, I just want to know, are y'all disappointed in me? And so that was a completely different conversation that we were able to have, thankfully, because I was able to sit down with my child and really kind of get more clear on what she was actually asking me and be able to answer those questions that were near and dear to her heart and not be the mom that's running from us. Okay. So that conversation went well. Something similar happened with my youngest this morning. We just went for a walk with our dog, and we're kind of doing some stretching just to get ready for our day. And my youngest child says, well, if there is one of us that essentially, you, if there is one of us kids that would be adopted, if you were just to take a look at us, which one of us would be adopted? And I was like, what's going on here? Am I being taunted? Because the questions that are being asked right now, I feel like it's a setup. The fix is in. I'm not sure where they're trying to get with these questions. And so I just told her point blank, I was like, hey, baby, I don't feel like any of those questions, that question is very fair to ask of me because both of you are parts of me. So it doesn't make sense to say one of you is more adopted than the other when both of you are biologically my children. So, what are you trying to ask here, baby? Are you wondering like about my care for you? Are you wondering about, if I care more for your sister more than yourself? Like, what is the question you're asking? And so she said, "Oh, I was just asking the question because I was just thinking it would be interesting to find out what your answer was." And I was like, okay, okay. So I just took it at face value. Maybe there was some sort of deeper meaning to it, but she didn't have access to that. And that's okay too. That's okay too. But these are just examples of sometimes how the wrong question, or maybe not necessarily the wrong question, but the question that's not as targeted gets us to places that are sometimes a little off from where our goals are. So if my youngest child just really just wanted to be affirmed and want to know that I claim her and space for her and claim her sister as well, like that would have been much. I would have really appreciated that as the question. That's just not how that got packaged. So my oldest child really wanted to know, like, are you upset with me? Is dad upset with me? Do you accept me? And so thankfully, we were able to have a conversation to be able to meet those concerns that are in her heart. The same thing happens for us. We are often trying to find ways of pushing ourselves, keeping ourselves in some sort of box, fitting some sort of mold, and it is just not working. It is not working. And so how do we change that? How do we start to have a different question? And so part of the question that I always get curious about is what is the type of life that you can have, feel productive, and not feel like you need to escape from it? What does that look like? And for a lot of folks, they're like, I have no idea what a productive life looks like, a fulfilling, sustainable life looks like that I don't have to escape from at some point in time. Because here's the thing, even when people do escape from it and they take these things called vacations, I hear a lot of people come back and say, I need a vacation from my vacation because they took that same framework, that same grinding mentality that they do here while they're working their everyday jobs, while they're living their lives, and they take that with them. Or sometimes I'll hear people say things like this, like, Virginia, I need to take at least a 3-day vacation because the first 2 days, I'm just winding down. Like, just winding down. Okay. So for a lot of y'all, that probably hit home, and so then that's the question is like, how do we ask different questions to lead us to places that is a life that's more sustainable, a life that's more enjoyable, a life where we feel more fulfilled and we feel like we're thriving. And so part of the way that I think that we get there, number one, asking a more targeted question. Number two, I really think we need to take a look at what we're feeding ourselves. And so I want to talk about number one, screens, specifically your phone. And I'm not going to be like, oh, we need to all have, reduced screen time like with your kids, like 2 hours a day, what have you. I get some people, their job is all online. My husband works at a computer, so he is always online. So, but one of the things he has chosen for himself that I realize not everybody's going to do is he rocks a flip phone. Why does he do that? Because he's cheap. Number one, quick and easy answer. Number two, it's just less stimulation. It's very simple. He does what he needs to do on it. He's able to put it down. He has separation from the thing. Not everybody can rock a flip phone. Not everybody's going to do that, and that's okay. I don't think we necessarily all have to do that. I don't do that. I have a smart device as well. So, but in terms of notifications, sometimes I get folks who love and care about me. They're like, Virginia, I sent you this message in Messenger. Virginia, I sent you this, that, and the third, and it's been 2 years. And is there something up with between us? I'm like, no, I'm just not on the socials. I'm not on there. Why am I not on there? Because literally, when my youngest was a baby, I would post pictures of her and family members that I have would be falling out over who was able to like it first. and who made the best comment and made this comment before they could make their comment and they just knew. And I'm just like, oh my God. There's literally stress and tension around baby pictures. I'm done with this. And so I don't engage in almost any social media outside of my work. Like my daughter is helping me with my social media campaign, and so I'm really thankful for her. But outside of that, I don't do a whole lot of social media because I have chosen to make my life simpler. That is just, I have to protect my peace. I've got to protect my peace. So, what are you feeding yourself with your phone? What are you feeding yourself with your computer screen? What are you feeding yourself with your friends? What are you feeding yourself sensory wise? You need to take a look at these things because all of these things are so important. And it may seem like this is just trivial, and why would you even be worried about that, Virginia? But I'm telling you, I've seen this over and over and over and over again. And I've lived this over and over and over and over again. The things that we feed ourselves does affect how we feel. Remember, I'm not just talking about fruits and veggies. With your cell phone, how many of those notifications go off? I'm in session with clients, and sometimes while we're in session, their phone is going off. There's some sort of bing or ting, or they've got the wrist things where it's like even if their phone is in the car, they've got their watch talking to them, and I'm like, you never need it. And then it's in our bedrooms, and then it's making these noises. It's shining these lights, doing these things. Oh, our nervous systems are not ready for all of that. It's just not. And so the more that I think that we can provide a little bit of that less stimulation in that way, the better. So take a look at your notifications. You don't necessarily have to do a fast or a detox from social media, but take a look at the notifications that you have. Take a look at the people who are able to go through your D&D and start finding out like, okay, do I need to adjust this for this season of my life? I'm still feeling burnt out. I am burnt crispy. Uh, what do I need to adjust here? Take a look at that for yourself. Well, also, I think taking a look at the type of things that you're consuming. Take a look at the media consumption that you have. When I first started off as a therapist, I loved all the Criminal Minds and Dateline and whodunits and all these mysteries and great psychological. I loved all of it. And I'm here to say, almost 20 years later, I have such a low threshold for it now that even like if my parents, my mom, anybody that's in my family starts to just talk about it, I'm like, "Don't, I'm so sorry." Just hearing it is making my stomach flip and turn and making me start to clench my jaws. Can we please change the subject? I'm so glad that you love it. I just don't have it anymore. I just can't. I just can't. I just can't. Like literally my jaw is so warm. I just can't. And so over the years, they've been super respectful. And I so appreciate that. Just that I want to be with these folks, but then I don't have the bandwidth for the other stuff that I used to have the bandwidth for. So that goes beyond just news outlets. Like I've heard some folks say, okay, I can't watch the news at all, or the news is better for me if I just read it versus watching it. Uh, you may need to take a look at some other things. One of the things that my oldest daughter recently found out is just even taking a look at the music that you listen to. What kind of music are we listening to? What kind of books are we reading? How is it affecting your nervous system? It may be interesting and exciting, but then how do you feel afterwards? What are those emotions that you're experiencing? What's happening inside the body? A lot of times these are data that we don't necessarily want to collect because we like it, we love it. There's certain artists that my daughter absolutely loves. My oldest child, I'm talking about in particular, but she realized, I realized after I listened to them, I feel sad or I realized I'm really angry when I listen to these certain artists or these certain songs. So I was like, okay, that's some good data. Sometimes you need to be angry. Sometimes you need to be sad. So, I mean, this is not to say that you can't listen to music that makes you feel sad or makes you feel angry. Sometimes we need that because it helps us to move through certain emotions. But if we find that we're getting stuck there and we can't shift or move ourselves out of it, you might need to switch what we're consuming. Maybe we're listening to the music, but we're not specifically listening to the lyrics. Maybe we need to pay attention to the lyrics. Maybe there's certain things that didn't used to bother us before, but for whatever reason, for this time and the season of our lives, they are bothering our nervous system. We need to take a look at that. We just do. And I know that's not comfortable, and I definitely know that's still popular. So, also with that, I would take a look at just your environment. Who are you with? Who are you around? There are some people that I love that I care about so much. Part of my family love and care about them so much. But after talking to them, like I feel down. I feel like I hung out with Eeyore. And we're blah 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 blah. Sorry. Got stuck there. If we feel like we just hung out with Eeyore, maybe we need to just kind of pay attention to how often am I hanging with this person? How much time am I spending with them? How much works for me? Okay. Maybe not necessarily cut that person off. That's pretty extreme in most situations. But what's my time looking like with them? Do I feel better with them on the phone or texting or in person? How can I protect my peace and still love this person whom I care about? The people that are around. Can we find other people who have identities that we have? Can we spend time with them so we're not doing as much code switching? Maybe there's a specific niche in terms of identity that you need to spend a little bit more time with because they get you, they hear you. You don't have to explain all the things. Take a look at that for yourself. Finally, I think we just need to take an overall look at our sensory output, period. During this video, I decided not to turn the big overhead lights on in the room that I'm in, and I just have some lamps and some natural light. It just feels good for my nervous system, especially as I'm doing this video. Light seems so silly, but it's so important. One of the very first things that I do in the morning is I open up the blinds, give my family hugs and kisses, and I open the blinds, letting that natural sunlight come in. In the evening, so what do I do? Everybody's already eaten dinner. We start closing the blinds. We're closing down the house. Telling our nervous systems this is our sign. We can start winding everything down. Take a look at the colors where you are. Are there lots of bright colors? My youngest recently said, you know what, Mom, I think I want my room red. I was like, red? It's like, if you see all of the fast food restaurants, what colors do they usually use? She's like, "Mm." We looked at them like all the hot colors. So lots of red too. And I said, there's reasons for that. There was a whole psychology behind it. And so we talked about maybe you want some red accents in your room because that sounds fun and that feels good for you. But your bed is not a place, your bedroom's not a place where you need to be stimulated. Your bedroom is a place where it should be cozy, comfy, warm, nice, squishy. And so those have been some adjustments that we're making at our house. So if this is your first time here with me, or maybe you've been listening for a while, or I just appreciate you being here. I ask that you would take that time right now to subscribe to my channel. And it does help me out so much, and I appreciate you for that. The other thing that I would ask is that if you have any tips in terms of what are you doing so that your regular life is not a life that you're trying to recover from, heal from, unburn out from, What are some of those things that you're doing that are very practical that were simple, but maybe game changers for you? But my name is Virginia. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, and I really appreciate this time with you. And please take this time to take good care of yourself and take good care of others in your life. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.